What are you saying, ladies and gents? It is your boy Bucket Hat Sam, and we are back again today for another video. Today's video, we are brutally ranking the Premier League strikers from the 2023-2024 season. Let's get straight into this. I'm going to start off straight away with Gabriel Jesus. Oh, and by the way, we've got world class, unreal, good, okay, and awful. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below, and please like, comment, and subscribe. We're trying to double our subscriber count in 2025 to 15,000 subscribers by the end of the year. That is the goal, and we're on a mission. So let's get into it. Gabriel Jesus straight away. I'm going to go straight into good. Now, Gabriel Jesus is a weird one for me. I know he's been tarnished in his career with a lot of injuries at his time at Arsenal, and he's a player that I really like, and I think that he's definitely got a place, but he's just tarnished with a lot of injuries, and he's a bit frustrating when people go on about the fact that he's not the most clinical and things, but I still think he can do a decent job, and I still think he's a very good striker. But he's not going to be that striker that gets you 20 goals. But there aren't many strikers in this list entirely that will do that. But I think he's a very good striker. I think he's on the cusp at the top of good to the bottom of unreal, because I don't think there's many strikers that can do what he can do, because he can play anywhere in that front three, and I really like him as a player. Next, we've got Eddie Nketiah, who at the time of this tier list being made and at the time of the season, he was at Arsenal, he's now at Crystal Palace. I'm going to go straight in and say awful. Now, I talk about this quite often, that I think Eddie Nketiah is a really weird one. I think he's blessed with the fact that he's English, he's come through the ranks at Arsenal. I think people put him on a pedestal because, yes, he can be quite clinical, but we've seen already at Crystal Palace, and the majority of times in his career, in his senior career, because yes, in his youth career, he was clinical for England 21s throughout the Arsenal ranks, but he's never really been able to do it at professional level. So I just think he's a very frustrating player, one that I always wanted to see do more, because we know, I've said it before, I think he's the top goal scorer for the England 21s ever, beat Alan Shearer's record. So like, he got a lot of high hopes, but yeah, it just hasn't really worked out. A frustrating player that I really wanted to do well. Next, we've got Dominic Solanke. We're going to whack him in good as well. Now, Dominic Solanke is a system player. I'm going to say that straight away. I think he really suited the Iraola system, and he really suits the Ange Postecoglou system. He's a forward-thinking, pressing merchant, which I really like, and I think he's a very decent player. Now, I don't think he would be suited to many teams. He's not going to get you 20 goals a season, but he's got a position. He's know exactly what he's going to do. He's got a position in this Tottenham team, and he's the main man. And I think that's probably the right decision. So I'm going to say he's good. He's not in unreal, and he's not world class. Next, we've got Ashley Barnes. Now I'm going to put him okay. Now, Ashley Barnes, I think, is again, he's similar to this thing what we spoke about with Solanke. He can do a job. You know exactly what you're going to get from him. I don't think he's an awful, because I think there's a lot of strikers that'll be worse than him. He'd probably be in the top of awful, bottom of okay. He's a consistent striker. You know what you're going to get from him. Not going to be banging in 10 plus goals every season, but he's a consistent player, 6 out of 10. And for a struggling relegation side, he's exactly what you need. Next, we've got Carlton Morris. Carlton Morris is a player that started off really well at Luton at the start of last season, but he never really got to the heights that we all expected. Now, again, you know what you're going to get from him. He's a hard working, scores penalties, can really kind of rough up defenders, but really, he's not on the level of your Ashley Barnes and players like that. So I'm going to put him in awful, and wasn't consistent enough throughout the season, didn't do enough to keep them up. Whereas players like Ashley Barnes helped keep Burnley up for so many seasons and helped push them on towards Europe. Next, we have got Matthias Cunha. Now, I'm going to put Matthias Cunha in unreal. Now, this is a very interesting one. This is a player that we were all really confused about when Wolves signed him for as much as they did from Atletico Madrid, and we never really could understand whether there was a player there. He kept showing glimpses, but what I've read and everything I'd read when he signed for the Wolves, that everyone said he worked in a system where he was two up top, kind of played as that second striker, and he always played on his own up top. Whereas this season, he's finally been given the chance to play up top, in a kind of more of a left forward kind of role, and we've seen this different kind of player. So as a forward and as a striker, he's absolutely unreal on his day. I know currently he's been linked with a lot of clubs, and he might be moving after. Seems to have a bit of not a disagreement with his manager, but I really like him. I think he's unreal. I think he's one of the best players in the Premier League at the minute so far this season. And when you talk about match winners, this guy can single-handedly win a match, and there aren't many players in this list that can do that. So next, we're going on to Callum Wilson. Callum Wilson, I'm going to whack in good. Callum Wilson is a consistent striker. The only thing that marks him down, and the only reason why I'm going to mark him down and put him in good and why he's not in unreal is because of his injury crisis. He's always injured every single season. You're lucky to get 15 games out of him. He's got a great goal scoring record. Will always score 10 plus goals, even when he's seems to be injured for the whole season. He got a great return, but again, just not consistent enough. So we're going to have to whack him in good. A very good player. I think his contract's coming up at Newcastle, so I can see him leaving on a free. Next, we've got Darwin Núñez. I'm going to put Darwin Núñez in okay. Now, he's not awful. He's not on that level, but I think he's better than these strikers in awful. But I still don't think he's a very good striker. I speak about it all the time. I think for some reason, I think we kind of all keep waiting for him to kind of get going, but I just can't see it happening. I look at him as a player. He's very frustrating, very erratic, and he hasn't shown any real decent levels. And when he does, his return's not too bad. But it's just, if you think about kind of these players here, these are all consistent performers. And I think that's the massive thing with Darwin Núñez. He could be unreal. He could be in good, but he just doesn't show it enough. So you can't put him up there. So I'm going to put him in the top of okay for now. And then we'll kind of see how it goes from there. Next, got Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I'm going to put in the bottom of okay. Again, when you compare him to the players that we're going to be putting in awful, I think he's a lot better than those. And that's the thing. I think a very frustrating player that you want to do well. And I've always wanted him to do well because we saw he could do it under Ancelotti. I know he's a free agent at the end of the summer. So I'm intrigued to see where he goes. I'm glad that he got that goal for David Moyes against Spurs, which is good to see him finally getting a goal. But yeah, I'm just going to put him in the bottom of okay for now. A player that, yeah, hopefully he'll get a move and maybe he could come good. You don't know. But okay, I think, because he's better than these players in awful. Next, got Edouard. I'm going to put Edouard in the top of awful. A player that really hasn't really shown it again. Again, glimpses. And the thing is, a player that I was really excited to see in the Premier League because he'd done so well at Celtic, and a player that I'd seen little bits of when in like the Europa League and things like that. And I'd seen moments and highlights of him seem to be scoring every single week, but he never really has got going at Crystal Palace, and players like Mateta and things like that have kept him out of the team. So we're going to put him in awful for now. Next, we've got Evan Ferguson. Evan Ferguson, I'm going to whack in the bottom of okay. Now, Evan Ferguson is a really weird one, a really interesting one. If we'd have done this list a year ago, he'd probably put him in good, but we don't really know how decent he is. Now, I know he's had a lot of injuries and things, but he still hasn't broken back into the team when he's been fit. He's a bit part player at Brighton. He's still very young, and maybe he needs to be blessed by a loan move elsewhere because I look at it as a whole. He's a player that was really excited to see him. He was banging in the goals when he was fit under De Zerbi right at the very start, or is it Graham Potter now? I'm just trying to remember. It's kind of in that kind of period between the two. But he's never really seemed to get going and kind of show those levels. But he's obviously better than the players in awful. So, but we're gonna have to put him at the bottom of okay. Probably one that I want. Probably should get a move away. I think. Next, got Adarabioyo. Adarabioyo at the top of awful. Yeah, top of awful. Again, he had a good return last year, but again, just wasn't consistent enough. And I think he's kind of falls into the category of players that, yes, they did well when in the Premier League, but are they a Premier League player? Probably not. So we're going to whack him in the top of awful. Next, we've got Erling Haaland. Now, regardless of what people want to say, and I know a lot of people, and including myself, I sat on the podcast, I've joked about him being washed and things, but this guy's an absolute joke. I kind of don't even need really to speak on it. We all know how good Haaland is, and we know what he's going to be doing. There is no striker like him, and he's going. The fact that he signed that huge contract most likely will become the leading goal scorer in the Premier League in history. Like, it's crazy to think that we've got another, was it 6 years of this now, which is absolutely crazy. Was it 9 years? I can't remember now off the top of my head, but he's going to be spending pretty much the majority of his career now at Manchester City, and the guy is an absolute joke. I absolutely love watching him play purely because there isn't anyone like him. He's a proper goal scorer. You don't get many players like this, because the next player we're going to be talking about within Alexander Isak, who is also in world class. These two are both world class, but completely different players. It's really interesting, but they can both still be world-class strikers, because Isak is going to give you everything else that comes with the play. But actual goal-scoring wise, Haaland is clear. There is nobody like him. Nobody like him who can score as many goals as he can. So yeah, we're going to go at those two at world-class. And Isak is a player that for some reason gets linked with a move away, but Newcastle I think is a really good standard, and it's a club that's forward-thinking and moving forward. So I kind of really like him there. And yeah, it's a shame that he didn't get that goal against Bournemouth to carry on that goal-scoring record, but he's been absolutely incredible this season and was last season. You just want him to just stay fit for that little bit longer. And maybe if Newcastle can build and get more players in and around him, kind of build and go forward. But yeah, that's it. So next we've got Tony. I'm going to whack Tony in Unreal. Now, Tony was one that it's a shame to see him move away from the Premier League. I understand why he did it, because it's life changing money and things. But I really enjoyed watching this guy play. There wasn't, again, many strikers like him. He was more similar to Isak than he was Haaland, in the sense of, yes, he was a bit of a goal scorer, but he did so much more than that. His hold up play, bringing other players into the game, his all round game was absolutely incredible. I think that was something that was really underrated with Ivan Toney, a player that has got that complete number 9, a real good footballer, a proper footballing brain. I really liked watching him, and again, his penalties were incredible as well. Next, got Jay Rodriguez. Jay Rodriguez goes in the bottom of okay. Kind of, yes, I know we're not just talking about Burnley here. We're kind of talking about his whole career with the majority of these as well. A good striker on his day. Played at my club, West Brom. He's going to get you goals, and I think that's the thing. Even at Burnley last season, right towards the end of his career, he got a couple of goals and things. But you think about the Southampton kind of time and things like that. I think we can whack him in okay. Probably. No, actually, now I'm looking at it. I think it's probably the top of awful. I'm just thinking now, actually, when you compare him to those strikers, who would you prefer? You'd probably pick all 4 of those ahead of him. So yeah, we'll whack him in there. Next, we've got Raul Jimenez. Raul Jimenez will go into good, and I'm going to whack him above Callum Wilson, just purely down to his injury record. Raul Jimenez, a player that was absolutely incredible when he first joined Wolverhampton Wanderers, was one of the main reasons why Wolves got into the Europa League. He was absolutely incredible for that season. Obviously, he had that horrible life-changing injury, and now we're kind of seeing the old player back again. Now he's at Fulham, and He's been playing really well recently. So yeah, I really like him. An all-round good striker. And what I love about him, he's got that kind of old school mentality where he just shoots on sight. He can be really greedy and quite frustrating at times, but you want your striker to do that because that's why he gets as many goals as he does. And he's now the leading Mexican goal scorer in the Premier League in history. So yeah, we're going to whack him in good right in there. Now it's got Diogo Jota. Now Diogo Jota is unreal. I really like him. No, or is he? No. Do you know what? We're going to whack him in the top of good because I'm now comparing him to those two, and I'd pick those two over him. I think the reason why he's not in unreal because comparison wise, as an actual footballer, he should be an Unreal. But the reason that he's not there is because of his injury record. And I know he seems to be injured all the time, but whenever he plays, he always scores. And what I love, considering he's so small, his goal scoring record, especially from his head, is absolutely incredible. Next, we've got Julian Alvarez. Julian Alvarez, obviously last night, bagging, I think it was 2 goals at the time of recording. I'm recording this on the Wednesday. I don't know when this video will be going out, but he scored 2 goals for Atleti last night in the Champions League. I absolutely loved him as a striker, and I'm going to whack him in Unreal. Now, very similar to Matthias Cunha, where number 9 on his own, he's probably not his best, but then he can bring so much more to play. And I think he in a couple of years will be one of the best strikers on the planet, if not he is already. But I don't think he's on the level of those two just as yet. I don't think he's world class. For me, world class, there's only a few players in the world that'll be in that, maybe 5. So I don't think usually Julian Alvarez will make that list yet, but I think he's very close to getting to there. But I really like him. All round playing, he was great at Manchester City. Next, got Harry Kane. Harry Kane goes in world class for me, above Alexander Isak. Again, we're talking about goal scorers. This guy had it in abundance, and he's probably the closest to Haaland for his actual goal scoring record. But then he's also got the play that Alexander Isak can have. He's a playmaker, an assister. He does absolutely everything. The guy is an absolute joke, and especially in his Tottenham days, I think now looking back, it makes you appreciate just how important and how reliant they were on him and how much he dragged that team on his own at times. Next, got Anthony Martial. Now, Anthony Martial, I'm going to whack in the top of okay because realistically, I know he's a one that they kind of became a bit of a meme towards the end of his Manchester United career. But again, he did show glimpses, and I think he's shown more glimpses than the rest of these players, but hasn't got the consistency of the players in this good level. So we're going to whack him in the top of okay. A player that I kind of was a bit sad, kind of how his career went because when he first joined, he was a very exciting player. I remember that goal against Liverpool and that incredible commentary and the Ballon d'Or clause when he signed from Monaco, and he just didn't really work out. Again, a lot of injuries, but we'll whack him in okay because his goal record isn't awful. It's not horrendous. Next, we've got Jean-Philippe Mateta. Now, Jean-Philippe Mateta is going to go back into good. A player that I absolutely love. Boom, 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 boom. Mateta's in the... I absolutely love him. I love everything about him. Proper old school striker. One of the slowest strikers in the league, but when he gets going, no one can stop him. He's an absolute brute. I love him as a footballer, and I love the fact that he's come good because when he first joined Crystal Palace, it was crazy. Him under Glasner is an absolute joke because him before Glasner, his record was absolutely atrocious. But yeah, we're going to whack him in good now because he's a consistent goal scorer. Next, we've got Neil Maupay. Neil Maupay, for me, we're going to whack him in here. We're going to whack him in and around. Yeah, we'll whack him there in awful. Really, his goal scoring record is not great. He's never really done anything. He's mainly known for just being an S-house, so we'll just leave him at that. Next, got Ollie McBurney. Ollie McBurney goes into the bottom, one of the worst Premier League strikers I think I've ever seen. A very frustrating player because, again, he just loses it with his head. I think that he's a very emotional player, and you can see at times he's just looking to get a yellow card rather than actually getting goals. But yeah, a very frustrating player that you can see could cause problems to defenses, but for some reason he just never consistently does it. He just, again, he's just throwing elbows and things like that. A player that really used to get on my nerves when I used to watch him play because you could see he could have a role under Chris Wilder at times when the ball was getting not long. He was very good at holding the ball up and bringing other players into play, but that record of yellow cards and red cards is just the thing that let him down. Next, got Mikel Antonio. Mikel Antonio definitely goes into good. A player that I think is extremely underrated. And I probably, you know what, probably should whack him a little bit higher. I'd probably whack him there. I think he's a very underrated player considering he was signed as a right winger and he converted to a right back and then to a striker. Just shows you all the money West Ham spent on all these strikers over time. And he's probably been the most prolific out of all of them. I think he's a very underrated player. Very good. Next, we have got Alexander Mitrovic. Again, goes into good. Another one that I really do like as a player, and I think again it's just a shame that he went off to the Saudi Premier League, so I don't get to see him as much. But again, I know he's absolutely bagging them in for Al Hilal, and he's had an incredible time over there. He's a great player, especially in the Championship, a very good striker, and it's just a shame that we don't get to see more of him. But yeah, definitely into good. Next, we got and Enjoy. Now, Enjoy, I'm going to put in the top of okay. Now, I know a lot of people may jump onto me we're talking about strikers here. It's similar to Cunha, but he, as the way they play, Njike more so plays as a winger or as a second striker, and a bit more of a free role we've seen at Everton at the minute. But really, in the Premier League, he's never really done it, and I know he's showing glimpses of it now, but it's not. There's not enough yet to whack him higher up in this list. But yeah, on his day, this guy's an absolute joke. In the Championship, he was absolutely incredible. I remember when he absolutely tore my team apart. It's Carlos. I'm a West Brom fan. If you're new to the channel, Carlos Corberán's first game, he absolutely tore us apart for Sheffield United. A very good player that over time, I think he'll work into good, but just not at the minute because I think he's just in a struggling side where he's not really getting many chances. Next, we've got Nicholas Jackson. I think Nicholas Jackson goes into the bottom of unreal. I think he's a very underrated player, and a lot of people like to hate on him just because they can. I think he's a very good player, and his goal scoring record is incredible. He's still so young, and again, similar to Isak in the sense of he isn't just a goal scorer, he gives you so much more, brings other players into play. I really like him, and he's one of the signings that Chelsea got right. Now, let's talk about a signing that Chelsea got wrong, and Nkunku. Now, Nkunku's got going to okay, and I feel like even that's a bit like we don't really know. He's never really got going. Obviously, he's had a lot of injuries for them. He scored in the Conference League for them this season, but other than that, it looks like he might be getting a move elsewhere. Never really got going. A bit of a frustrating player, a player that had got such high hopes. So we can't really say anything, but he's definitely not awful. I'd say he's still better than a lot of these players in this list, but we've got to whack him in okay for now because, again, we don't really know. Next, we've got Ollie Watkins. Ollie Watkins, for me, will go in just above Matthias Cunha in unreal, a incredible striker in the Premier League now. And I think his goal return for Aston Villa has been absolutely incredible. A lot of question marks when he first joined from Brentford because the fee was absolutely astronomical, but he has delivered on all kind of cylinders. He's been assisting, goal scoring, and he's been the main man and kind of the talisman as to why Villa got into the Europa Conference League and then into the Champions League. He's been absolutely incredible. His goal scoring return and for England, I really like him as a striker. We're going to whack him in unreal. Proper old school striker that really leads the line well, runs the channels, and causes problems for defenders. Will never stop running, which I absolutely love. Next, we've got Richarlison. Now, Richarlison for me has got to go into okay. Not a very good striker, like considering when you look and the amount of money they spent on him. Yeah, really odd signing. I've never really thought he was that good. He's a weird one. There's a lot of money has been spent on him in his career. He's never really properly delivered. And on his day, you think, okay, this is decent, but you can't be a great striker if you do being described as on his day. On his day, for the players that are too inconsistent, so we're going to whack him in there in okay. Next, got Skamaka. Skamaka was a really not a very good signing. You could kind of put him in anywhere in this awful list. A lot of these players are real stinkers in this awful. But yeah, Skamaka was a really weird signing, and he's absolutely smashing it elsewhere back in the Serie A. So again, a weird signing. A player that I was quite excited to see because his goal scoring record was pretty decent in the Serie A. But it's how it is when West Ham sign strikers. That's why I think Mikel Antonio gets pushed up even higher when you consider players like this that they sign, and he's still playing as the striker. Next, we've got Awoniyi. Awoniyi will go into the top of okay. The reason why he's not any higher is because, again, his injury record, a player I really do like, causes a lot of problems. He's really muscly and really strong, led the line really well for Nottingham Forest under Steve Cooper. But yeah, hasn't really got going, a lot of injury problems. So we're going to have to put him in okay for that. And then the final player, we have got Danny Welbeck. And that is it. And we're going to whack him in the bottom of good. A very good striker, very consistent now in the Premier League for many, many years. Not like a world beater or anything, but he's got a place in this list in good. Sorry, he's better than those players in okay. I think he's had a very good career. But let me know your thoughts for me brutally ranking these strikers from the 2023-2024 Premier League season. And we haven't just ranked them specifically for that season. We've been ranking them as a whole as strikers. But thank you guys for watching. I will see you later in the week. We're uploading pretty much every other day. I'm uploading 3 shorts. Go check out my podcast called Book Out Sam Talks Ball as well, and check out all the links down below. Please subscribe. It means and helps more than you can imagine. But I will see you guys very soon. Thank you for watching. See ya.